Hello, and welcome to today's video. Today I have the TradingView chart loaded, and I'm going to talk about an update to the main Jackrabbit indicator. So I'm going to load it, and you'll see the signal line dominates the screen, and the signals are down here. I'm going to pick a slightly higher volume coin though to demonstrate some of the changes. I reverted the main Jackrabbit indicator to be on top of the chart to begin with. I can't do anything with this because of the way TradingView has its rules set up for indicator on indicator operations. But it can be disabled, and then the markers automatically show up where they're supposed to show up. So it's something to be aware of now with the update. Unfortunately, with charts that are made with the older versions, that's going to be a problem that I'm not going to really be able to get around, as TradingView saves the versions that various charts are made against. So let's load a previous chart layout, and let's see if this chart shows it. It may not. I typically have bad habits of updating all my charts as I update all my versions. So, as you can see, yeah, it didn't save it. So if you do have saved charts, be aware it does use older versions automatically. And the only way to update that is to update the chart itself with the latest version of Jackrabbit. So, now I want to bring up another topic here. Let me get into this and come down to all of the various settings. I'm going to disable GAN pivots for now, so that all that exists is the trend hunter. Now I'm going to load the ADX indicator, which is the high-powered replacement to trend hunter. More and more as the modulus framework grows, you will see situations where the newer indicators simply dwarf the pre-built ones in the all-in-one Jackrabbit indicator. I encourage you to use the updated versions over the older versions, as they are simply far more powerful. Now, in the case of the default settings being a starting point, I'm going to leave those in right now as legacy settings. But eventually, this script will go away, and the modulus framework will completely replace it with full-scale drop-in replacements that will exceed all capabilities of the all-in-one script. So please be aware of that as you're working with your indicators, and know that as the new modules are developed, they will be significantly more powerful than what the all-in-one is capable of doing. For example, confirmation bias and confirmation crossover are now default within the new modules. All three of them have been updated so that you can pull from two different charts on two different time frames simultaneously. For example, I can actually use the main part to pull in BTC, and I can use the confirmation part to pull in ETH. And then between the two of them, generate signals that will buy whatever coin I happen to be on. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go to XRP as it's been the best performer lately. So now here is the chart for XRP with ADX loaded. So let's start with a very simple situation. Let's start by pulling the Binance ticker. And we want BTC as the base currency and BTC is the coin, USDT is the base currency. I'm not going to change anything else. I'm going to come down to the confirmation. Again, Binance ticker. And I want ETH as the coin and USDT as the base currency. Now, the thing about this to be aware of, you don't have to use the same exchange. You can also use this method to trade gold, Forex, or any other commodity available within TradingView. This confirmation crossover process is now default for all of the modules. So now let's come up here and turn on confirmation bias, and that will force both charts to be loaded on the current time frame. And as you can see, the charts are now loaded. And when buy signals show up on both charts, you will actually be able to buy this coin. Let's see if we can find a chart that has the signals. And we can. It buys right here. It sells right here. So at this point on the 15-minute chart, both BTC and ETH have a buy signal. Now you can use this to drive the entire savings account paradigm I showed in the last video. You can add to this by adding another indicator to it. For example, if you wanted to add MACD, you could do the same process, having it line up BTC and ETH for purchasing XRP. In fact, let's actually do that. Let's go through. Let's line up MACD. Well, first let's find MACD. Okay, here we are. We're going to load the MACD indicator. Here is its signal line. Now, let's configure it. Let's show the chart. And let's turn off the signal line. Now let's configure MACD the way we have ADX configured. Let's come down here. Ticker symbol. First one is going to be BTC off the Binance exchange using a base currency of USDT. Now MACD has had an update as well. Fast line source, slow line source. Confirmation now has its own sources. So much more powerful than previous. But I'm not going to mess with any of that right now. Just going to pull Binance, the ETH coin, and USDT. Now all of these have to be in caps according to TradingView. So now we're going to click OK, and now we're going to see how these two line up after it goes through the analysis. Okay, that's an awful lot of signals. Let's double check the work here. I gotta turn on confirmation bias. There we go. So now, here are the signals that MACDs say line up between ETH and BTC. Here are the signals that show ADX lining up. Now, it really doesn't matter which one you feed in first. They should both produce the same final result. What matters is that when you link them together, you pick the last one in the chain for your signals. I'm going to leave ADX up here just because the signals aren't that frequent. I'm going to use MACD to link it in, as it will show the biggest graphical difference visually. So let's come here. Let's go back into settings. Let's set this to the ADX signal line, and let's turn this on. And now, the signals that line up exactly to both of these will match. Now, right now, we don't get those signals even though they looked very close. A feature that MACD has, in fact, all the modulus framework have. Come all the way to the bottom, and you can keep a signal for X number of candlesticks. That's important if you're looking to try to get uncooperative indicators to line up. So let's slide this over here so we see if we can get a good lineup. Now you want to keep this as small as possible to keep unwanted results out. But for now, let's try a 3 and a 3. That is, we want to keep a buy signal for 3 candlesticks so that it might line up here. Okay, nothing's showing up, so let's go to 7. Let's just get one to show up. And sometimes you'll need to zoom in, so forth. Looks like that's the case here. Let's turn this off for now. This should revert back to the original settings. Okay, now, let's zoom this in. Yes, when you're looking to compare charts, this can be a problem. Okay, so it looks like the signals occur before. So let's put this back to 0. And let's go modify ADX. You also can use the aggressive state of ADX if you want. But I don't want to go to an aggressive state. I just want to keep the signals for a certain time period. Okay, so try to keep this number as small as possible. Okay, it's still not quite lined up. If you're used to Crypto Hopper, then you're familiar with this practice. Okay, so let's set that there. Let's turn on the indicator process. And let's see if the signals now line up. Still not lining up. So let's come back to ADX. And let's try adding some more candles to get a good buy signal right here. Now, if you're familiar with the crypto hopper, you know that it only gives you 10. Now, Jackrabbit's modulus framework lets you go above 10. But for now, we'll keep it here. And as you can see, we have a buy signal that now lines up here. So there are ways to help calibrate different indicators. Also, if you don't want to necessarily keep a signal, for example, let's put this back down to 0. And let's move to an aggressive state. So let's set the confirmation as aggressive. And let's set the main indicator as aggressive. So now you can see the aggressive state also has an impact that may or may not be beneficial to your final signals. Let's zoom this back out. For example, we see a sell signal here. We see a sell signal up here and a buy signal here, a buy signal that matches up here, and a sell signal that matches here. So when you're working with the modulus framework, all indicators in this framework, right now ATR, ADX, and MACD, both support keeping a signal for candlesticks, and ones like ADX support an aggressive mode. So if you have a situation that's not quite lining up, be sure to look at these two possibilities. Now let's get rid of this. It's going to delete everything, which we want. And now going with my Jackrabbit savings account video. Let's load MACD only. I got too much stuff in here. There we go. Okay, here are our buy signals. Here it is, all the buy signals. Now let's go to the savings account bot that I set up. You can see when I started it, not very old. You can see how it's done to date. Now remember, this bot does not have the full amount of the 1200 USDT. It's using significantly less than that. And this is the result of what it's using. So even without the full amount, it's still doing very well. Here are the profits per day. And of course, the coins that are doing well. Now, I've chosen all these coins even though I'm not using them. Simply because I actually get this. This tells me which coin is the most profitable. So if I want to tune it only to the profitable coins, now I can. Let's go look at the deals. Because this is only using 700 versus 1200, I'm going to show you what the history looks like. So you'll get an idea of how having a lower budget actually affects the process. So here we are, completed deals. And here is the duration, about 2 hours. That's pretty good considering. Here though, I think it's this one. Okay, you see the duration. Okay, this one, about a day. So this coin took about a day to make a profit. So this is one of the reasons why I say use every coin when you first set your bot up. That way you can test it, you can collect statistics, and then you can decide as the bot develops which signals you want to use. For example, here I have all of my signals. Here are all of the Jackrabbit savings account bots that I trade. Each coin one at a time based upon when it receives the signal. So now you can see BCH requires a long time frame to turn a profit. So I can actually just disable this right here, not touch my bot at all. I don't have to go back in, I don't have to edit it, nothing. Turn the alert off, and I will no longer buy BCH. I can physically delete it altogether if I want, so forth. So it's important that you consider and think about how you want to set your bot up when you do. That way you get your best results. Now here are my overall statistics. Not bad. You can see EOS is the least profitable thus far. You can see my highest profit. If you click on it, you'll get the pricing. If you hover over it on a PC, so forth. Now, remember the point of the savings account bot is to mimic my actual savings account. So for a budget of $708, let's see if I can get a total here. Okay. So for $708, let's come back here. And let's pick this bot, and it will tell me my total profit. I've made $1.17 on just this amount, and it's only a few days old. My savings account only gives me 0.01% per year. In order to make this amount of money, I have to have $10,000 in my savings account for 1 full year. I've done the same thing here in only 5 days with 1/10 of the amount. Even if you have higher risk bots running, this should be considered. At least one of your bots should be this type of system. If for no other reason than to hedge against market volatility. As you can see, considering the limited budget, and I'm not even at the rate I should be at. If I was at 1% deviation with a full 1200 USDT, this would be performing significantly better. But I'm not. I'm $500 short of that. And it's still doing very well for 5 days. Think about that. 5 days, I've already got 1 year's interest earned compared to my savings account. That is a big deal. And that's important to remember. If you're looking for stability, or if you don't have a large budget, This is the best place to start. It's simple, it's easy, it is the closest you're going to get to set it and forget it. And you don't have to be overly cautious with your signals. It helps if you are, but you don't have to be. That's why I emphasize the Jackrabbit savings account is the best place to start when you're beginning. Am I going to break even at the end of the month with the way I've got this set up? Probably not. But if I can invest the full amount, and I'll show you an example of that. If I can invest the full amount, yes, I will break even in 1 month. And this is just one single coin. So, is that a guaranteed? No, it's not. But as you can see from this chart, it does reasonably well. You can see where the market dips took place and it took a little bit of time to recover. But overall, this is what you can expect when you're running at the 1200 USDT for the Jackrabbit savings account. The other bot that I showed you gives you an idea what to expect when you're not running at the full amount. The lower your amount, the longer it will take you to make a profit. So remember that when you're working with your first bot. This is not the most efficient use of your funds, but it is the safest use of your funds and the best place to start when you are just starting. Be sure you take the time to actually look at the results and test with the paper trader. As you can see, side by side, same bot, except I'm only using BTC. Here, I'm using more. Here, I'm using a lot of coins. All the top coins above 1 billion, but only one deal at a time. So be sure you take a close look at the fail-safe blueprint. If you don't have a lot, this is the best place to start. Okay, as always, be sure to like and subscribe to the video if you're not already, and take your time in learning Jackrabbit. And be sure to paper trade extensively. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, but it can really save you a lot of headaches in the long run. Because here you can make mistakes. Here you can really see just how bad things can get. And you can plan for them before you ever put real money into the system. Run this side by side with any real money market bots. Do your testing here before you make anything final in the real money world. This is where you learn, not with your real money. This is where you can actually set up a lot of different strategies and test them. Some work, some don't, some have huge consequences. You can see here, the green, I'm making a profit. The red, I'm losing money. And you can also watch the recovery process with the market. So even though you can't always control the market, you at least get an idea whether or not what you're doing is going to help you recover in the worst case situations. So now that you've seen the best example and the real world example, this is what you want to do. Make decisions based upon real circumstances that fit your risk assessment and your budget. This is going to grow over time, and eventually it will get to the best case scenario. But until then, it's doing very good. It's slow, it's steady, it's consistent. And the way it's set up, I don't have to worry about it taking losses because it's set up using the fail-safe blueprint given to you in a Jackrabbit savings account video. Slow, steady, consistent. Some people call it a fail-safe, some people call it turtle mode. It doesn't matter what you call it. Just remember, it works. And it works reliably well, and consistency is an important factor. It will survive where a lot of other situations won't. Until next time.